Hi guys, this is Chris Hui, and I just want to say something I saw about the ISTJ and the INFJ. So the ISTJ, SI, is extremely good at being detail-oriented. The parent TE, they're highly efficient and they like structure. The child FI means that they stand firm on their personal values and they can be quite obstinate. Vulnerable NE means they're not so good at random exploration. Nemesis SE means they prefer not to use force to resolve things. TI critic means that they tend to be very critical of things that are theoretical, like MBTI. FE in the trickster function means that they kind of have this weakness of not really understanding the emotions of other people and how to make basically 提供情绪价值. Basically, they don't know how to provide emotional value to other people, and for this reason, it's hard for them to get people to like them because they don't really understand. They don't really understand how to manipulate the emotions of others in a way that makes everyone more comfortable, more happy, more harmonious. Then NI demon means that they're actually they have a strong sense of purpose, but this strong sense of purpose is not something they really understand, and they have difficulty understanding. They're very literal people. They're not really good at understanding the meaning behind what they see. So whether it's a text message or a conversation or a social event, they are not so good at seeing the underlying pattern and the symbolic meaning of things unless it's right in their face and super obvious. So the INFJ, NI dominant function, means that they are extremely skilled at seeing the underlying meaning behind things, which means they're very good at symbolism and metaphors and understanding the hidden meaning behind things, which is the NID different from ISTJ. The FE parent means that they think it's their responsibility to take care of other people and provide emotional value and make others feel happy. So they are actually quite good at FE, whereas the ISTJ is quite bad at it. Child TI means that they extremely are obsessed with theory and they're extremely interested in theoretical conceptual conversations, looking for that correct and true understanding of the world, but they're trying to build a personal understanding of how the world works. SE in the vulnerable function means that they are actually very weak at being in the present, and oftentimes they're not present. So when they're in the present, their mind is far off into the future or far in the past. They're looking at the deeper meanings behind things. They're looking so deep behind the deeper meaning of things, they don't even see. The visible becomes invisible to them, and the invisible becomes visible to them. So they're not very good at observing things that are happening here and now. They're also not good at using force to get their objectives. Any in the nemesis function means that they do not prefer random exploration. However, they do like it when other people are using the any, just like actually ISTJs also like it when people use SE. So it's actually any is when people are exploring possibilities. The INFJ is open to that, but they themselves do it very rarely. FI critic means the INFJ tends to criticize people who use FI. So the FI means you do what you want and you do what you feel like doing. So the ISTJ criticizes the child INFJ TI. The INFJ criticizes the child FI of ISTJ. So the ISTJ just does what feels right to their core values, and the INFJ criticize that perhaps for lacking logical depth or symbolic meaning, for not being NI enough, or they just think it's selfish because it doesn't have enough FE. And T trickster means the INFJ is very, unfortunately, have a blind spot on building structure. For example, they're not good at planning things in a detailed, effective, and efficient manner. They're much more systematic, using systematic objective metrics. The INFJ prefers to use their kind of theoretical understanding of the world and to play by the feelings of the group and to use their long-term NI vision rather than systematically relying on some kind of infallible TE system. An SI demon means that the INFJ is not good at taking care of themselves. The SI is also about taking care of yourself and achieving homeostasis and taking good care of your health or getting good rest or just getting good at the little things in life, the details, like keeping clean or being being in control of your life is very SI core value. And the INFJ is not very good at that. Now, my mom is an ISTJ and I'm an INFJ. I'm gonna hit through the other two function, other for my brother. ESTP is my brother, and then ISFP is my father. So I can kind of see if I can actually sketch their personalities here. So the ESTP, SE dominant, means that they're very focused on the here and the now, and they like to use force to get their way. They don't mind pushing people's boundaries and making people feel uncomfortable. TI in their parent function means that they like to make sure that TI is being used responsibly. So as far as I've seen, that they like to, they can discuss things in theory, but when people are speaking theoretically in a way that is not backed up by objective evidence, the ESTP tends to rein in people's TI. And TE is using TI to kind of I think they want to combine theory and practice and action. Conceptual, they also want it to be connected to the present. They kind of use TI as a referee function to kind of make sure that people are talking about things that actually are measurable and bounded in reality. FE child function is the ESTP really enjoys doing things with other people, really is a very extroverted person. They overuse FE. So the INFJ uses the FE to make other people comfortable. The ESTP is also doing that. They love making people feel comfortable and making people feel like they're welcome, they belong. So they're good. They become well liked because of FE as well. And they're very present, SE, so they kind of have fast reflexes from SE. Their mind is quick from TI, and they're emotionally intelligent with FE. NI in the vulnerable function means that they're not that long-term oriented. They don't really see the meaning behind things, and they don't really understand what's going on. They don't see that easily beyond the surface. They're so focused on the surface that they're very good at the reality. They're not just good at seeing, they're good at seeing the visible reality, they're not good at seeing the invisible reality, such as the INFJ. SI in the nemesis function is they don't like being comfortable. Sure, they like it when other people help them make them comfortable, so they like it when people are using SI, but they themselves are very much about pushing themselves and pushing other people. TE in the critic function means that they actually criticize other people when people use TE. So, well, I would criticize my mom's FI, her son ESTP will criticize her TE. I'm not exactly how sure this works out, but basically the ESTP doesn't really like company rules, like companies with a lot of procedure and a lot of protocols and a lot of meeting minutes and who's doing weekly reports. They're very critical of that. They think that these kind of things are kind of annoying and unnecessary, and they don't like things being too overly structured and too rigid. They prefer things that are much more fluid and more adaptive systems rather than everything laid out. They don't really like rules. So TE is kind of like rules-based living, and you can see that ISTJ is responsible with the parent TE rules, but the ESTP is kind of a critic of TE rules. Whereas the INFJ is not criticizing rules, they're criticizing selfishness, selfish behavior from FI, but they themselves don't really understand the rules of the society TE. The ESTP is FI blind, which means they don't really understand what they themselves like, and they don't understand what other people like. So FI represents, I like this, I don't like this, it's their personal values. ESTP doesn't really see things in terms of I like this or don't like this, and they don't really understand people saying I like this and don't like this. To them, it sounds really selfish. If they just focus on what is good in the group and makes people happy. Any in the demon function actually means that the ESTP, ironically, is long-term. They're not good at long-term planning, but they like having this long-term plan. Very kind of laid out in front of them. It's not usually not the most well thought out plan, but they themselves feel guilty when they are doing random exploration. So this is something that we see in common with ISTJ and the ESTP is they don't really do a lot of random exploration. And they think that purposeless random exploration is kind of stupid. And they don't like people doing things because they like it or because it's random exploration and seeing new things. And honestly, the ESTP seems to be very critical of theory. And I think it's because TI has to be restricted by SE. So they don't really like intuitive kind of theory. They prefer logical thinking, TI breakdowns that have some basis in reality, like basketball. Now, the ISFP knows what they like. They live their life what they like and they don't like. They stay away from they don't like, and they go towards what they like. They are very powerful in the moment, so they know how to. They like to indulge the five senses and make themselves really enjoy life. That's as a parent is about enjoying life and enjoying yourself in the moment. NI child means trying to find the deeper purpose and meaning of things. The ISFP might be searching for the deeper purpose and meaning of things, and they might not be so good at finding it, but they are thinking about what is the significance of this, and they're also, I think, they're searching for something with the NI, so they're searching for the path, they're searching for the meaning, but it's hard for them to be very, very clear on that, and they might need help from other people. The TE vulnerable function means that they do value organization and speed, but they are just not so good at it, and it's a little bit because they don't really like doing what they don't like, and structuring and planning has a lot to do with doing things that you don't like. FE nemesis function represents basically they're so focused on their own likes, they kind of forget to provide emotional value to people around them, but they do like it when people use FE. So they do value people like INFJs who are good at providing emotional value. So they'll like the INFJ. The critical of SI, which is ISTJ, they're critical of the details. I think they don't like getting too stuck on the details. I think they would much rather be focused on just living a fun life and just who cares. They don't really easily remember things that are so detail-oriented, so it's easy for them to kind of forget because they're so focused on the now that they don't really want to focus on the past and get too past focused. And SI has a lot to do with enjoying things that are historical, things that are tied in the past. So when people are really critical of the SI, they also don't really like things that are too tradition-bounded. They're more future-oriented and focus on the present, like what's cool now and what feels good right for me. I don't want to be tied down to the past. Any trickster means that they're, ironically, they're not exceptionally, they don't really know how to do random exploration because they know what they like so much. They just spam what they like and they stay away from what they don't like. And because of that, a lot of things that involve random exploration has a lot of things you don't know whether you like it or you don't like it. But ISFP basically sticks to what they like and they don't like. So they don't really explore unknowns that might be involving, like they, for example, maybe going to a new country is something that would interest them, but because it involves something like doing something they don't enjoy, booking hotels, they might not want to do it. The TI demon is life would be easier if they had a deeper understanding of how the world works, but they rarely think of how the world works at a deeper level. They're just functioning in the society, and so it's when they really, really get lost. That's when they start to rethink how does the world actually work. So if we look at the parent function of FI-NI loop, if we look at the loops that we can see, the SE The NI loop is thinking about the deep meaning and the future, and the TI is getting deep into the knowledge and theory. So they get lost into deep theory regarding about how the future will work. ESTP's SEFE is about let's go have fun in the present and let's be around people, so they spam being around with people. So what they should do is TI, they should do some more logical, theoretical thinking. The INFJ should actually do more FE. They should go hang out with people and have some oxytocin and learn new perspectives and enjoy the company of people. It'll get them out of the NI-TI loop. ISFP is FI-NI loop is stuck in what they like and their fantasy. So FI-NI could be building this fantasy of what you like and don't like in your own mind. SE is about going out there, breaking out there and go enjoying the world. So FI is thinking about what you like, creating what you like in your own world, and NI is about building that future vision. So FI-NI could kind of be a delusion about the future, about what you like, kind of a delusion of grandeur, kind of like creating your own mental fantasy world. And then SI-FI, well, SI is about the past, and FI is about how you feel about the past. You like and dislike. So basically, ISTJs have very good memory, so they might think about the past, they might get triggered about so many negative emotional affect. And so for the way to get out of it, it's T, start to get structure, start doing things, start getting things done. They're really good at getting things done. ISFP is really good at being in the present, so get out of your fantasy and go start living life. The INFJ is really good at providing emotional value, so they should get out of that NITI loop of just research, thinking about the future, and start engaging with people. The ESTP is very good at doing logical breakdowns, so actually they're surprisingly good at theory. So when they start spamming, just socializing, having fun in the moment, they should really take some time to go learn about the theoretical things of life. If we analyze the demon functions of each of them, the ISFP should not just wait for life to break down before they start to get a theoretical understanding of how the world works. Life would be easier if they learned vicariously through other people earlier. The ISTJ should not just, when life breaks down, rethink their purpose. They should actually, while things are going well, they should also think about their purpose and the meaning of things that will enrich their life. INFJ should not just, when things break down, should they start taking care of themselves and being comfortable and keeping track of history. They should start doing these kind of things well in advance. The ESTP should actually start doing random exploration way earlier. And I think ESTP kind of feels guilty about doing random exploration because it just feels purposeless. They would rather be purposeful. So NI is very purposeful. So ISTJ should relook at their purpose earlier before it's a demon function. And the ESTP should start doing random exploration. Ironically, they're opposite. The ISFP start doing more theoretical learning, and the INFJ should start taking care of themselves more. Now, if we talk about vulnerable functions, so the INFJ really needs help to be in the present. The good news is they're conscious of this, and they like it when people are good at sports and in the presence. They really enjoy things. Like I enjoy the UFC. I enjoy looking at the World Cup highlights. That was really fun and exciting to bring me back in the present. ESTPs not so good at long-term planning, so maybe they should outsource and find some people who could help them with their long-term planning and help them talk about and rethink their goals. ISTJs are not good at random exploration. They should probably find some friends who can pull them out and just start exposing them to new random things, walks of life, and learn things about how the world works. The ISFP is not so good at being organized and systematic learning. Probably be their life would see a lot of growth if they actually started to get organized and systematic. They do value it, but they're just not good at it, so they could actually either improve here or find a partner who's good at this. Now, if we're going to look at the picture function, so the ISFP, it's because they know what they like so much, so they don't really do random exploration, so they should do more random exploration that goes beyond what they like. The ISTJ is not good at providing people emotional value because they're kind of too focused on what's objectively true and what's right and wrong and what's about their own personal values. They're so caught up in their own personal values, they kind of forget about taking care of the emotions of other people, so they're kind of a little bit self-righteous and not thinking about, hey, it doesn't matter who's right and wrong. What matters is do people have love with each other. So it's more about let's build a vibe that makes people can get along. INFJ is not so good at being systematic and building systems. So the INFJ would benefit if they basically admit that and they just start trying to practice on purpose and get disciplined.
ESTP, FI, they don't really care about what people like and what they don't like. So the thing is, they should start learning about, hey, what do I like and what do other people like, and respecting that. What people like and what they don't like is actually really, really important to build a personal relationship. So it's not just about the vibe you create, it's also about building that personal connection and building that bond with what do people like and dislike. If we talk about the critic function, SI, the ISFP criticize being too stuck in the past or too detail oriented because it's not fun and it kind of gets in the way of. They're also critical of themselves of not being detail oriented enough, so that they become perfectionistic in this regard. The ISTJ criticizes theory and criticizes understanding, and so they're not confident in their own understanding of the world. So they're constantly gathering TE facts because they're not confident in how they understand the world. The INFJ criticizes, likes and dislikes, including their own likes and dislikes. I think them liking something or them disliking something is them being judgmental and not being open-minded. So they actually just are ignoring what they like, they're ignoring their own feelings, and inevitably it means they don't really understand the feelings of others because they don't understand themselves. How can they understand other people? The STP is very critical of rules and regulations, but life needs rules and regulations and systems to actually function. If you want to have a successful company, you need to have some kind of rules or some kind of protocols. So the ESTP criticizes that, and they're also critical and hard on themselves. They're also they're actually against rules, but they're also hard against being inefficient and ineffective. So the INFJ criticizes themselves for being selfish. The ESTP criticizes themselves for being not efficient and ineffective, and the ISTJ criticizes themselves for not knowing enough. So I hear my mom always say, I don't know. It's really funny, my mom knows a lot of things, but she will always say, I don't know. Now, if we look at the nemesis functions, the ESTP is kind of lazy on the details. They're so in the moment, they're not really using the past very well, so it's common for them to repeat mistakes because they don't really take the time to reflect about the past. The INFJ nemesis function is NE, so they're not very much, they're not going out there, they're not exploring mode. They're so focused on their purpose and mission life that they hate leaving the path that seems so right for them. So their brain kind of has this GPS. So sometimes random exploration means you need to not listen to the GPS. The ISTJ doesn't like using force, so it's easy for people to walk over them and for them to be taken advantage of. They're great workers, but they have this tendency to let other people basically use force on them, and they don't know how to respond. So they need to learn how to handle force and how to use force on other people. The ISFP is kind of so good at being in touch with their own feelings. They lose touch with the feelings of other people. So at sometimes their life would be so much better if they just cared about other people's feelings, and that would make people like them a lot. So take care, we've got 2 ISFP, ISTJ, 2 FI users, and INFJ and ESTP. So it's good having this conversation and analyzing my family. My father, the ISFP, my mother, the ISTJ, my brother, the ESTP, and myself, the INFJ. Take care, and if you have any analysis on if you have any comments on how this family dynamic could actually improve, or what are the dangers, or how can they get along better, I'd be very interested. Take care, God bless.